Yo YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy SalvationsElite, and we are back with another video, guys. And it's been a while since we've done tips video on this channel, so I'm pretty pumped to do one today. I was just chilling here, sitting here, thinking about video ideas, and I kind of went through a handful of ideas, things that we'll definitely be talking about in the next few weeks. And, topics that we're going to definitely cover moving forward. But I just thought, what'd be better than covering something that is like really relevant to right now that you guys can start working on as school's getting out, as you guys are getting into summer vacation or whatever it is, and you guys got a little bit of time to put into some Call of Duty. What can you do to get better at Call of Duty this summer? And so that's what we're talking about today. So we're just going to go through a few topics, like 5, that you guys can hopefully implement and start practicing this summer to get significantly better at Call of Duty. I hope this really helps you guys. I didn't really want to have like 5 tips because it just seems so stereotypical to do like 5 tips to improve your Call of Duty gun skill or 5 tips to get better at COD. But I just, I was working through them. I thought 5 would make sense for this video, so that's what we're doing. The toughest thing about making these tips videos is that it's hard to always know who I'm talking to. Like when it comes to the audience, what skill level are you guys at? Are you guys just starting Call of Duty? Is this your first time ever watching a tips video? Have you guys been playing since COD 2 and you have thousands of hours in Call of Duty? All of you guys are in such different spots in your Call of Duty careers. Some of you are trying to go pro. Some of you are just trying to be the best pub stomper around. So hopefully these tips can help you guys no matter where you are in your Call of Duty career. So I've mentioned it a few times, but I'm working on setting up my Patreon page. I want to launch it this summer at some point, but I don't necessarily know when yet. The biggest thing for me about Patreon is I want to make sure I provide value for you guys. So I want coaching to be a part of that in some way or another. And so if you guys have any ideas or thoughts about what you guys would think would be pretty cool to have for a Patreon tiers, drop those ideas down below. I'll definitely implement some of them into the future of what the Patreon page could look like. Sorry about the long intro. I just wanted to talk about those things and cover those things before we got into the tips. So let's hop right into the tips. So I know for me that this has been really important these last few months is to get back to the basics and remaster or just fine tune my movement and my gun skill. So I spent quite a lot of time these last few months in custom lobbies just shooting bots, working on my gun skill and my movement in general. So the movement is just weird with this game because sliding is so important. So obviously, like working on avoiding dead slides and working on being able to stop my slide mid-slide, turn on somebody, things like those things. And actually in this Twitter clip I just posted today, it actually kind of came to fruition, and I was able to kind of use some of the things I practiced in a little bit to, make a nice little play. I'm gonna go tower. I'm gonna go tower.
Two front.
I got one in tower.
Nice, baby.
Let's go. So again, with these tips, the biggest thing is that you actually have to like be aware of them and really work on them while you're in game. I think the biggest issue or the biggest thing that a lot of players fall victim to is kind of just going through the motions and like tricking themselves or like basically just lying to themselves that they're getting better by just playing if they're not thinking about getting better. And similarly, don't let that frustrate you, because a lot of players, including myself, when you're trying to get better at something, the process can be a little frustrating because you may not see that improvement right away, or it might take a while, and so it might not feel like you're improving as much as you think you should be, and that can be a little frustrating. So just don't let that frustration overtake your eagerness to get better. So another aspect I think a lot of players can work on to improve a lot is to count the kill feed and be aware of how many players are down, how many players are killed, and when they're killed and where they're killed, kind of all that wrapped into one. So I mean, this is beneficial in pubs, this is beneficial in competitive, this is beneficial in any aspect of Call of Duty, and it's so important to be aware of where players were killed, when they were killed, and that allows you to be able to play the timing in spawn. So for example, say you're on frequency and you're playing rank. So the biggest thing is just to know that, okay, there's gonna be a 2-second respawn, he's gonna spawn in, and then he has to run to this heady on outskirts, and that's where you're gonna interact with him. So you know that you have about like what, 6 to 8 seconds before you're gonna see him again. Like that, as eventually as you keep thinking about that, that will become natural, and that'll significantly improve your mental processing of the game and how you're able to approach the game in and game out. So this next tip is something we talk about a lot on the channel, but it's to be able to play off your teammates. And I mean, obviously it's straightforward. You want to be able to play good positioning based off how your teammates are positioned. Obviously this is easier to do when you're playing in a party and you can communicate with your teammates, but if you're playing solo and in rank, this can be extremely effective if you're playing solo rank, solo pubs, and you just have to be aware of how your teammates are playing. One thing competitively that a lot of teams kind of screw up is that they might have a good setup, but the issue is that their setups break down because there's not enough patience or trust between the players to be able to hold their angles. So say for a situation you have a nice bomb plant, or you have a nice setup on a control zone, one at hostile slides in on one of your teammates behind you, your trust should be that, okay, he's going to kill him, and then once he dies, I turn. But a lot of teams that will immediately turn, it can screw up their defense, and that's where teams get into trouble. So again, be very aware of your teammates and try new things, and be willing to be patient and trust your teammates that they're going to get the kills. Obviously, this can be really frustrating in pubs or in ranked. This is more applies to ranked than it does to pubs, where in pubs you really can't trust any of your teammates because they're all probably trash cans. But in ranked, hopefully you have some decent teammates that can actually, you know, play the game in some way or another. And obviously you can feel that out throughout the games. But the patience, trust your teammates, play off your teammates' positioning, very important. So the next thing, this is a great time of the year to work on getting rid of your bad habits. And I want to specifically highlight positioning, but it really could be anything at the end of the day. But the positioning is so important, and it can play a massive role in all you do. And this definitely is different from just playing off your teammates. But for example, like for me on frequency, on hardpoint and on control, I had a tendency to kind of push mid too much. This is kind of brought to my attention by some of my teammates. I would sometimes push mid instead of when I needed to push outskirts towards pipes, or sometimes into U or something like that. I would just kind of it would be an unnecessary amount of pushing mid. And so that was something recently that I had to figure out and like, okay, address and make a mental note of while I'm on frequency. Be more willing to push towards the immediate hills, be more willing to push towards the elbow, and help my teammates there. So for you, that could look like that in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's harder to notice when it's just you and you're not playing with people or something like that. But be self-aware of that and be mindful of your positioning and how that might look, and see if potentially there's other ways that you could play that might actually end up being better. And also, we talk about a lot of these on my other series and Learn from the Pros. We talk about the pros positioning and how they work together with their teammates as well. So I highly recommend that you guys go check those out. Shameless plug. But I truly believe that those are extremely beneficial videos, and that's probably where people can learn the most about competitive Call of Duty and how to get better in those situations. So I highly recommend you go check those out. But the final one is fine-tuning your communication. And this is something that I think the more that people play a certain game, it can become like more lazy, or like easier just to be lazy when it comes to communication. And I think I've sensed that with myself lately while playing competitively. I just haven't been as active with my communication and what we need to really be effective as a team. And so, you know, being able to call out what you're not seeing is just as important as being able to call out what you are seeing. And especially in a team of amateurs, that can be really important. Being able to call out like, yo, I got your courtyard, make sure to watch church. Like that simple call out could be the difference between you guys losing the hill and making the hill, because there could have been a miscommunication between you and your teammates, and now suddenly he's watching with you and then you lose the hill. Like, you know, simple stuff like that can go a long ways, and I promise there's things along those lines that all of you guys could fix. And maybe there's just like a call out that you maybe never knew or didn't exactly know. So now's the time to go figure out what that call out is, or figure out that call out and communicate that with your teammates, and that's what the call out is. I hope these were some tangible tips that you guys can make use of right away this summer, and I hope it helps you guys get better at Call of Duty. So if it does, like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. Share the video if you guys really enjoy it. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying to do this long term, and I cannot do that without you guys. So I really appreciate all the support, the likes, the follows, the comments, anything helps me and helps me do what I would love to do, which is make these videos. So again, as always guys, I'm your boy SalvationsElite, and we'll see you next time. I'm out.